Welcome to the High Vibe Soul Podcast, a space where we discuss personal growth, spirituality, motherhood, relationships, and shifting old paradigms so that you can live your most authentic, soul-aligned life. I'm your host, Lyndsey, and I founded the High Vibe Soul Company to empower women and support them in becoming their highest, brightest selves. From my light to yours, I am so grateful you're here. Welcome back to the podcast. Today's episode is going to be a little spicy, a little fiery, leaning into my Leo rising, my Sag moon. Also, I'm very pregnant at this point. I don't know about you, but every pregnancy, like the more the pregnancy progresses, and then every baby leans me more into this zero F's vibe. And also every year that I get older, and I love it, I'm going to be 42 this month. And I just feel more myself than ever. And it feels really, really good. So this episode is your permission slip. I was actually writing this out, which I rarely do, but I was kind of writing out the points I wanted to talk about because I got really triggered yesterday when I was in prenatal yoga. There was a woman sitting next to me. I could tell she was super sweet, but I could also feel so much like insecurity, feeling very uncomfortable in her body, very uncomfortable in just everything in the class. And she's not someone that's ever done yoga. And so she kept apologizing throughout the class to the instructor, like, sorry, I can't get into the pose. It's like, girl, don't be sorry. That's your body. It's okay. Like, that's why we're here to stretch. And then the instructor said, does everyone have water? We're going to do a water break. And she's like, oh, sorry, I forgot my water. I can't believe I forgot it. And she's berating herself over forgetting water. And it's like, it's okay. We'll just go get you a cup of water. But I just wanted to look at her and give her a big hug and then kind of shake her and be like, stop apologizing for things you don't need to apologize for. I see this so often with women and it just drives me absolutely nuts. And I am a very direct person, to be sure. I've softened a lot this last decade of becoming a mother. I used to be, I would say in my 20s, I was like abrasively direct. Not a good way to be. I had to find a happy medium. But yeah, I see this so much still with women that are entering like this beautiful time in our lives where you really should have a better sense of like who you are and feel more grounded, embodied, and secure, and left that phase of constant comparison. Although we'll touch on that because I still compare myself more than I would like. So anyways, this episode is going to be your permission slip, your reminder. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And I hope that a lot of what I share just lights a little fire underneath you and gets you excited to just remember who you are and really step into your power. So permission to, I'm going to talk about some key points. The first one, permission to be who you came here to be. And this is something that can take years to uncover. I know it did for me. I really have this push and pull kind of personality and this push and pull in, if you look at my astrology chart, my human design chart, and it's been a bit of a struggle for me my whole life because if you look at my astrology chart, I'm so watery, but I'm also so fiery with a few Aquarius placements tucked in there for good measure. I feel very connected to like divine mother energy, like Mother Mary, for example. I love to be nurturing. I'm super intuitive. I love, love being a mom. I like to be flowy. I'm very creative. I truly feel most in my element when I'm either acting as a mother or in a creative way. But I'm also spicy. I'm also fiery. I am also a Leo rising and a Sag moon and a whole lot of other fire. My mouth used to get me in a lot of trouble when I was younger. I was known in my 20s for saying the thing no one else would say. I've always been very direct. I was always the one who would like call out the guy that was being a jerk to my friend. And I'm a truth teller. I'm an activator. That's part of my purpose as well. When I became a mom, I really leaned into this sort of watery divine mother archetype, so much so that it's like the pendulum swung so far to the other side. And I think at this point in my life, I finally found this healthy balance. And my words are quite a bit softer than they were in my 20s, but still sometimes my filter just goes offline and people don't always like it. Some people really appreciate it and some people do not. I remember actually telling a coworker, this is probably 10, 12 years ago, who was sharing about her on and off relationship. And she was telling me about this guy, and I just looked at her and I was like, this guy sounds terrible. Why are we still giving him the time of day? And she could have been like, wow, you're terrible for saying that. Thank you for, you are so rude. But she actually took it in and she was like, you're right. And she ended up breaking things off with him that month. And I want to say like 2 months later, she met the man that she has now been married to for, I don't know, 10 years and has 2 kids with. And so sometimes I can't hold it in. I just have to say the thing and I have to say it right then with no finesse. And it's like, I can't be in charge of how people are going to take it. So, anyways, be who you came here to be and honor that energy that you were given. That's another piece of this. This is very personal to me. I'm a 6-2 manifestor in human design. I'm designed to give, expand, share, and go, 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 and have all the energy in the world and just be super creative. And then I need a break, a really solid break, like sometimes 1 or 2 weeks where I'm just kind of receiving. And obviously, I'm still taking care of my family in the house, but in terms of my creativity, I sort of lay back, do nothing, inspiration stops flowing. I just really need to take care of myself. And it's such a dance. And that was really hard for me to understand until I got my human design reading for the first time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's why I'm that way. That's why everyone else seems to be able to go, go, go. And I can't. And I need so much time to myself to recharge. I really need to like go into hermit mode. So be who you came here to be, honor your energy. And also that includes living your purpose and following what lights you up. And if people don't like it or they don't understand, that's their problem. I cannot tell you the amount of pushback I've gotten from my family, even my husband, more so in the beginning, on like, what do you mean you're going to create guided meditations and you're going to become an energy healer and you're starting your own business? Like, why? Why wouldn't you just go work for someone else and make a set amount of money? And you're really good at sales, so why wouldn't you just continue on that path and have this set income coming your way? Or do something that's more, quote, normal. Well, because this is what lights me up. This is what my soul is calling me to do. And it's what fuels my fire. I love what I'm doing now. I've never felt more aligned with what I'm doing now. Everyone told me I wasn't going to make any money, that it doesn't make sense to start your own business, blah, 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 all the things. My family thought it was weird, all the spiritual stuff I'm into. I don't care. It's my life. And at the end of my life, I want to look back and think, wow, I really pushed myself and I expanded and I did what I came here to do. I followed all my soul pulls, all my intuitive nudges, and I created this really incredible path and this incredible life that I could have never dreamt of myself. My soul was just pulling me along and I was just following it. I could have chosen not to follow it for sure. And I think a lot of people do that. I could have chosen the status quo, but I wanted something different. And I also am showing my children what's possible, and that feels really, really good. So do what you came here to do. Be who you came here to be. Don't be like anyone else. You were designed this way for a purpose, for a reason. It's not a coincidence. It's not an accident. So honor that and honor your energy. My next permission slip, stop comparing yourself to others. Now, I'm going to be honest, I have a very hard time at times, depending, still with comparing myself to, like I said, the generators of the world, if you know human design, the people who can go, go, go consistently. Almost 2 years into my business, and actually towards fall of last year, I was realizing how much I am still comparing myself in terms of entrepreneurship to people that I'm friends with that are spiritual entrepreneurs or just other entrepreneurs that I look up to. Now, do I do this with motherhood? No, because I'm 8 years into motherhood. I'm seasoned. I know what I'm doing. I'm not comparing myself to anyone because I feel like I've got my system down. I still have a lot I'm learning, believe me. Whew, a lot I'm learning. But I'm not comparing myself like I did when my son was a baby. And it was like, my little one's sleeping at 2, 3 months old, and he was still waking up 4 times a night. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? I'm certainly not doing any of that in motherhood anymore. But I noticed I am doing that in entrepreneurship because I did have a postpartum doula business a few years back, but not no one I knew was doing that, but I have a lot of spiritual entrepreneur friends. And so I'm naturally kind of like, "Oh, wow, well they're at this milestone and I'm not there yet," or, but you just can't do that. You have to be confident and trust your intuition and continue to follow the breadcrumbs and the way your soul is pulling you. And with entrepreneurship, I'm really figuring it out day by day still. How much can I give? How much can I create? What does this flow look like for me in each season of life? In each season, like winter break, I really burnt myself out this winter break. And then I had to take a good 2 weeks off in January to recalibrate. And I'm just realizing, working with a lot of mentors over these last few years, no one can actually give me the answer of all this but me. So this is why we really have to be tuned into our heart and our intuition. I've also realized, and this doesn't just go for entrepreneurship, it's for everything. The more I put my blinders on and just go into my little vortex and I ignore social media and I ignore what other people are doing, the happier I am, the more in flow I am, the more authentic I feel in what I'm creating and who I'm being. Everything's just better for me when I do that. And so I'm very aware of, I guess it would be social media more than anything, of the comparison trap on social media. And I know that's a huge thing, especially for teenagers. That's a big reason why there is so much anxiety and depression with social media. I've been reading very slowly The Anxious Generation book, and for girls especially, that is the issue, is the comparison on social media that leads to anxiety. Next point I want to touch on: permission to define what success and abundance means to you. This kind of goes along with comparison, but we are taught often as children that success equals money. Maybe for some people, success also equals fame or being well known. Often success means a career and a life that's just more, more, more of everything, especially if you live in the United States. But that's not how I personally feel. It's how I used to feel, to be sure. I was definitely that person. But now that's really just not how I feel. Something that came through in meditation recently for me is redefining the word success for yourself. And as I was sort of meditating on this, success for me equals alignment. When I feel in flow, when I'm lit up by my creativity, by motherhood, by my friends, by my marriage, by my whole life, and when I feel fulfilled by touching people with my work, that's really big for me. That's success. That is abundance for me. Success for me also looks like me working in the morning, which it's not even, I hate to call it work because it doesn't feel like work. This is, again, I keep saying the word lights me up. I can't think of another phrase because that's how I feel. Like, this gives me energy. It gives me life force. But success for me is working in the mornings and then being with my kids from the time they get home from school until bedtime. That was always my dream when Hudson was a baby and I was thinking, okay, what do I want to do? That was my dream, and it still is. That's success for me. Success for me is presence, it's connection, in my relationships, with the people I love, with nature, with the divine. I mean, oh my gosh, divine connection is a, such a life giver to have that. But each of us, each soul, each person, we each get to define what does success and abundance mean for us. And your version might look completely different from mine, and that's completely okay. Like, there are women where success for them is climbing the corporate ladder and working their butts off, and maybe they don't even want to be a mom, or maybe they kind of just want to be a mom on the weekends. That's okay if that's success for you. And then vice versa. There's women who are incredible stay-at-home moms who give everything to their families, and they are just the most loving, compassionate beings. That is a successful life for them. So think about, what does success and abundance mean for you specifically? Maybe even journal on, like, what was I taught? What did I see as a child? And how do I feel now? And I think for a lot of people, a lot of things have shifted these last few years, and we are redefining what success means for us. But ultimately, we want to stop defining our output and our success on other people's metrics, because it's not about them. The next point I was thinking about, permission to stop saying sorry for things that you shouldn't apologize for, like the woman at prenatal yoga. That's a big one. But permission also to just take up space and be direct. I feel like these all kind of flow together. So when I say take up space, I mean permission to share the story and take your time with it. This is something that I used to fall into a lot, where I would get kind of the spotlight in a group of people and share something that happened, and I would rush through it because I felt like, oh, I'm taking up too much time from everyone else. No, take up space while still being mindful of not over talking, not, word vomiting, not taking over the whole conversation, because I know people that do that too. But take up space, stop apologizing for things that don't matter, and just be direct. Say what's on your mind and what you're actually feeling. Stop saying things are fine if you don't actually feel that way. And along with that, get to the point. Let go of over-explaining, of using all these extra words for fear that people will misunderstand you. Nobody needs a paragraph text on why you can't join the party. You can just simply say, oh, sorry, I can't make it. Hope you have a great party. This is very helpful with husbands too. I think we all tend to talk a little more than we need to about things with our husband. I know my husband's always like, okay, what's the actual point? And this is something I've really been working on the last year. I read this book by Jefferson Fisher, highly, highly recommend. It's called The Next Conversation. He is phenomenal at breaking down so many topics with communication, but specifically the one that really stood out for me was just being direct and not using all these extra fluff words, and how people do that in emails and texts, in person, all of it. You don't need to expand on things. You don't need to over-explain. You don't owe anyone anything. And it's not your job to take ownership of how they're going to react when you say something. As long as you're direct and you say it with love, you say it with compassion, but just say the thing that you actually want to say. I do call people out on this that I am close with, because it's kind of a pet peeve of mine when they're like circling around the thing. I have a family member in particular I'm thinking of, and she gets very uncomfortable when I call her out on it. Maybe I'll never change the way she communicates, but at least with me, she understands she needs to be direct and just say the thing instead of circling around. The last point that I was thinking about with your permission slip today, permission to receive. Something I see a lot with my clients when I'm doing energy healing sessions. Everyone has a masculine side and a feminine side. So that really just means your feminine side is like your receptive, receiving, intuitive side. Your masculine side is your taking action. With probably 90% of my female clients, I see such an imbalance between their masculine and feminine energy, especially the moms, where they're just doing so much more than they're receiving and being given. Say yes to having your groceries be brought to the car when you're also trying to wrangle your little, or it's heavy. Say yes when your neighbors ask if you need help. I say yes all the time to help from the neighbors. Oh my gosh, in my first trimester, I normally, you normally don't share that you're pregnant that early on, but I was like, screw it. I told 3 of my neighbors and I was like, hey, I can't make it through the day without napping. I feel terrible every afternoon from like 3 to 7. Is there any way you guys could just help me out with the kids? And they were all like, of course, Lyndsey, no problem. I didn't feel bad about asking because I know that everything's an energy exchange. I know that I will also help them with their kids. And I actually have one neighbor now where we've created this amazing energy exchange where she'll have the kids over for a play date. She'll have all 3 over with her kids for a play date for like 2 hours on an afternoon, and then I'll swap and we just get so much done and the kids have a blast. It's perfect. But say yes to help. Own compliments when you receive them. This is another one that I feel like is hard for a lot of women. You get your hair done, for example, and somebody gives you a compliment. Do you take it and just say thank you? Or like, thanks, yeah, I really like the way that you did it. Or do you backpedal because you feel uncomfortable receiving the compliment? You kind of take it, but then you say, oh, thanks. Yeah, I mean, oh, they cut it a little shorter than I wanted. Or yeah, my hair was a mess before. I really needed this. No, take the compliment. Take it in. This is part of receiving. This is also important in terms of just energetically. If you are looking to receive like a manifestation, this is somewhere where people can be blocked. If they're not good at receiving in other areas of their life, it's all interconnected. So just keep that in mind if you need more motivation to receive. I hope this episode leaves you feeling more empowered, maybe a little spicy, a little fiery, and just bring some things to your awareness that you may have needed to be reminded of. And also remember, if you are a mom, whether it's boys, girls, we are sort of ingraining and conditioning our children with the way that we speak, with the way we talk about ourselves, with our energy, with all the things. They're absorbing everything and taking that in. So the more work we can do to kind of heal some of this with ourselves, it not only benefits us, but it benefits them because then they don't have to later decondition themselves down the line like a lot of us have. So just keep that in mind as your motivation. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to the High Vibe Soul podcast. Your support means the world to me. So if you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, subscribe, and share with a loved one. Sign up for my newsletter and receive 2 free high vibe meditations straight to your inbox. And for more ways to work with me, click the links in the show notes. I would love to hear from you, so send me a message on my Instagram at the.highvibe.soul, and I'll see you next time.